All right, as we were discussing doing, this is the post-game report for the Chaos March 6th anniversary event. I am Duelist, joined by Direwolf and Liko. Say hi, guys.
Hey,
Greetings.
All right, so today, you guys might not have been aware of it, but we were actually fighting for some planets, maybe secretly. So here on the screen we have the planets there, and these 4 purple planets we were fighting for were captured. And did you guys know that you were either pirates or mercenaries today?
did not.
Well, there was some talk of pirates in the event description,
but
as I recall.
As you can see the live stream there. And it'll come up here in a second. I'll let people read it if they want. They can pause it, but there is the pirate raids in the Chaos March and our little bit of story. Pirates did pretty well today, I think. We'll see that here in a minute. So we're gonna take a look at the list now. So if you guys would kindly take a look at Battle Report, and we'll start with the Pirates Battle Report. How easy was it making the list today? And what was the process that your teams did to finalize your lists? Let's see here.
I think it ended up falling to some of the more experienced Chaos Marchers, just because a lot of people this was their first experience with Chaos March.
Hello, Jamek. Joined by third.
Yep.
But yeah, pretty much.
Well,
Today-
for my part, I usually start by trying to figure out a clear, simple goal or strategy, and I pick my 1 or 2 most valuable units, and my other choices are based all around that and around people's preferences on my team.
Today
Pretty
was
much exactly that.
Today was the first time that we used Chaos March drop calculators with the individual SIBO limits, and we also had it restricted to Intersphere versus Intersphere Pure Tech. How was it not having access to the clan stuff today?
Some people were definitely missing their crutch assets, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm sure not everyone enjoyed it, being thrust out of their comfort zones, but it certainly changed the strategic possibilities. It's always fun to have a change of pace every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
There were also no repeating assets between drops, which added a little bit of extra strategic layering. It was kind of fun to realize okay, we're going to be fighting on these maps later, so we should probably be retaining at least a few of our skirmishing assets, etc. And I think that actually paid off really well.
And today,
for example, some of the earlier drops, for example, our team specifically held back on taking some really powerful skirmishing assets that could have also served as brawlers, and it helped us win a few later drops.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get to that later, probably.
Yeah, I know on Outskirts, for example, we were specifically trying to take longer range stuff the first time, just because we knew we had used a lot of our close range stuff on the repeated Thunder Rift games.
Yep. We'll be going over those shortly, actually. So,
and as we can see on the screen, we have the battle report. It looks like I allowed you guys 68,000 tons and 105,000 BV on Outskirts. Obviously, I have to update that, but if we look on the right side under the mercs, it shows who won and who lost today. We played 6 maps, and I think I might need to check one of those, but I think it was somewhere around 5-1 or 4-2 today. And it'll be interesting. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag for how that's going to work in Chaos. Like, how do we determine who won, who lost over things? Because you noticed that we didn't do best 3 out of 5 today. But we'll keep that a state secret for now. Let's look over this first Thunder Rift list. Walk me through what you guys were thinking on your side with your assets here, and what your strategy you were trying to utilize was.
Unga.
Yeah, it was pretty simple for this one. We just went with straight up durable brawl stuff. since there were more people, we threw in a few MRM assets because all the price values were pretty high, stuff like that.
I know on our side, we were just looking to try and get some firepower in there. We also were, I think these are medium range assets for the most part, but our not there. There isn't as much armor in there. I think as you guys had in there, and I think when we take a look at the video soon, that'll come into play.
Yeah, I know I deleted a few things right away in the Fafnir. And it was so chaotic that I don't think we were being focused particularly well. Like, I know I was able to spread pretty much all the damage I was taking. I was red everywhere by the end.
All right.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious to see Duelist's perspective here, because from our side, it kind of just turned into just like completeness. I feel like it was really difficult to like make calls because we were all in a very small area, and so
yeah, I mean, not to get ahead of ourselves here, but
yeah,
I had no idea what was going on in that drop, and at the end of it, I was kind of like, "Oh, we won. That's good."
Yep, pretty much. I think, I don't know, looking at this, I actually didn't look too closely at the previous list. They're surprisingly similar.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like both have like really similar game plans, but I think the main difference was we just had a demo. So we had it, and they had a Hollander as well. Like they had a couple of assets which were like not maxing out armor, whereas we did like pretty much with every asset possible.
So we're going to try it this time.
We'll
we're going to watch and we're going to commentate on, when it gets going here in a second, the battles from the left perspective is my camera on the clan side and Lico's camera on the right side, and we're going to try and get these as in sync as we can. So it's rolling, and it'll just take a second for our commentators to get caught up.
Okay.
Play, damn it. All right.
Yeah, go get it. We'll catch up.
And so I've got them going. They're not quite in sync anymore, but you can tell that both teams are looking to get into high ground. Thunder Rift, that always seems really important for some reason on that map. What was your command structure like? Did you have a single commander? Did you kind of let everybody do their thing?
We're probably going to pass right and then left immediately.
What was the, now that we've got the video going, both teams trying to look for high ground, what was the command structure like here? What was your objective? What kind of ground were you trying to get to?
For us, we were mostly just looking for some place where we could engage with like minimal sight lines. Being focused really heavily on things like LBX racks.
Yeah, we took basically the fastest route we could to the other side of the map with the most cover.
How did you pick us up early on radar, or was it a visual confirmation?
Load up for a demo.
Radar, as we passed, we were right underneath the base you were in, and I picked you up on passive radar, actually.
Yeah, at this point we haven't detected you yet at all, and we had no idea that you were in this part of the map.
Yep, I think the right stream is like 30 seconds ahead. But yeah, we were very unaware that they were
yeah,
there.
the stream on the right is 20 seconds ahead. But still, even at this point ahead, like, we still have no idea where you are.
And,
we were just milling about down there.
We detected you visually at some point, and we made the decision to sit in that base. You can see my mech just trying to stay out of the way. and those opening shots, Grim gets aggressive here. But how did you get your mechs organized to make the push so that you weren't just one mech after the other?
Well, I made the call that the tank had to go in first because I've seen quite a few Thunder Rift base pushes in my time, and when the tank doesn't go in first, it tends to get stuck in the choke point, and then the whole team gets stuck in the choke point. And I think that's what made it happen. We had a specific marching order. You know, the tank goes in first, and then the Atlas, and then me, and then everyone else.
Yep. You can see that on the left screen.
As I blow up, we didn't know what to focus on. If you watch the video and hear the audio, focus the tank, focus the Atlas, focus the other one. And by the time we did that, only one of us on my team was smart enough to get the hell out of there and try to reestablish.
Yeah, the moment we saw the Thumper, I think Lico called out, hey, we need to push into them because you could snipe at us if we were just skirmishing.
Yeah, once I identified that the enemy had a Thumper and it was already so close to us, in my mind there was no other move. We either pushed the instant we identified this Thumper and already took a shot from it, or we're going to lose trades and ultimately lose no matter what. And it seems to have paid off. It was the right call.
Poor Rook here tried to do something, and he just gets up there, 10 mechs, blam.
Yeah.
But that was a quick, fast match. Trying to use lists that are really designed for 400, 500 meter engagements, and we're sitting there 20 meters apart. It was literally chaos in there.
Yeah, you actually had a couple of jumping assets, the catapult and the avatar, but I think like when the engagement happened at like such close range, they weren't really able to do anything. They just had to try and share their armor during the push, because like the rest of the list was too slow to move out, and it didn't really work when we'd had like a lot more, just a lot more tonnage.
And as we shut down the video just for now, that first battle was just crazy fast. And so how did things change as you started? As I'll bring it up here in a second, you'll see the battle report come up. Were you going to use the same strategy, same type of drop list, or were you changing up your tactics with what you were designing to do there on map 2? Lico,
for map 2, it was a pretty similar strategy. The issue is we didn't have the C-bill values to build the same sort of list.
Yep, significantly lower C-bill values. So we had to try and figure out what we would build around. We also had like I think 3 really large assets, compared to the one where we had like 4 basically assault level armor things.
Yeah, like we didn't have any big beefy tanks on this list. We ended up with a much lighter one overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also we had already used a lot of my personal favorites for this type of map and situation, such as the Mr. Bubbles Atlas, the Rack 5 Demolisher, the Discount Fafnir with LB20s, Rotary 5 Warhammer, etc.
Yeah. Actually, looking at the 2 lists side by side, it's really interesting to see like just how much armor we didn't have compared to the other team. Kind of wondering how that makes sense.
Well, I guess we optimized a lot better the first match, but we didn't have those assets for the second one because of the pricing and the fact that we used them up.
Huh. I think they had a lot more armor because they took a Demolisher in a slot that couldn't afford a Demolisher.
I think. Oh no, I think that list is one of these is not. I think the demo slot might be broken or something. There's like one more. Like Grim is listed twice there. I'm assuming like one of the slots is like not totally right. You can look on the draft calc. See if there's anything weird there. I don't know if the demo actually happened. I know they had a demo. I'm not sure if they had 1 or 2. Okay.
Yeah, I remember when we engaged you, it was sort of through a choke point, and you had at least a few assets down in the water, so it was a little difficult to pick out the called targets. So I think we had trouble focus firing there too.
All right, once the video starts, you guys just take it away with commentary, all right? Probably just be a few seconds. Yeah, you took 2 atlases in the last fight. I think this time around we returned the favor.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself with the footage here, but we didn't make the best moves.
Yeah. Well, we did try to play to our strengths, which was mostly we focused a lot on DPS. So the idea was that we would.
The view on your stream here is a bit odd. It's very zoomed in on a corner of the footage here.
Oh.
I don't know if you're still setting it up or not.
It seems like it's only a small part of the whole screen.
The video doesn't go full screen?
Or it seems like you're looking at only a small part of your screen.
Oh. Alright, well, I'll let it roll and then we'll see if it fixes itself. If not, I think we'll
Yeah, it looks like it's like the top left corner of your screen.
Oh. Yeah, no, I can fix that. That's just going to take a second. Technical difficulties. All right, talk to me about individual CBIL limits. For somebody that's more used to tons or team CBIL limits, how do the individual CBIL limits work? The basics of that system.
Well, you can
drops.
You can think of it like a deck, and each card in your deck has a specific price point on it, and you have that much money to spend, which is already how the game is balanced normally. So that kind of simplifies everything because, you know, if you tell someone you have 115,000 C-bills to spend, that should immediately make them think of, well, when I have that much money in a pub game, I'm looking at Mad Cats and Marauders and Massacres, so on. So it's a fairly intuitive system.
Mm-hmm.
And people can eyeball a particular price point, or the team can collaborate to build a strategy around units and then dole them out afterwards. You can kind of approach it however you like.
I'm not sure how far back the stream is. Let me know if it goes correctly to full stream video at any point here.
Yes, it looks like it's fixed now.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. If the video's playing, feel free to commentate on it.
All right.
So as you can see here, the sight lines are pretty brutal. This is kind of a choke point that we're pushing through here.
Yeah, we made the call to push into them because we were hoping that if we all waited into them with all of our high DPS assets, we could probably melt some people. But once we hit the merge, there were a lot of issues like focusing on targets.
Yeah, we ended up like picking a run up to them that was sort of like a gauntlet through the river, and then part of your team was in the water during a lot of the fight.
Yeah,
so
you can also see a lot of our people just like stopping actually. Like I saw these 2 people just like stop moving.
Yep, once we reached this little second body of water here, we kind of stopped our push, and some of us pushed around the corner and got isolated in the middle of the enemy team, and others ended up pulling back.
If you were assets just like turned around, like, and I wasn't aware that, yeah, I was all the way over there in the water. Jesus. I didn't realize that I got line of sight from the rest of the team. I thought we were just pushing into them.
Yeah, so we finally dealt with the rotary AC5 bushwhacker that was in our rear, and then everyone else that pushed around the corner was dying.
Yeah.
And at the very end there, to add insult to injury, somebody actually got LRMs to work. Ooh.
Interesting.
So one team got a big victory, and then the switch sides there. The other team got the victory. I think that this can work. Just kind of going through like the actual, little bit of highlights of the battle. So how was it having to make 2 lists for the same map, playing the same map back to back? How was that?
It was quite interesting, actually, because it's kind of like, oftentimes I know when I'm building lists for maps, I usually have like a way that I like to almost always like to play it. So I usually build like one list, like that's kind of geared to how I want to play it. So, for example, like the first drop is one, like how I usually play T-Rift. I usually just like to put in tons of armor, just walk into a point, and just kind of sit there, force them to deal with you. Then it was like, okay, we don't really have those assets anymore. We're going to play it a little bit differently. That just kind of, and also you have to keep in mind, well, okay, the other team lost doing this thing, or they won doing this thing, so how will they react? Will they change their drops, or will they change their list to be significantly different? Like, should we try to counterpick that? It's a fun little exercise.
Yeah, I had kind of mixed feelings about it. I did notice a lot of the things you mentioned, but you also kind of get the feeling, oh, we just did this map. I wonder if it'd be possible to split up the repeat maps,
User joined
possibly.
your channel.
Like, you go through each map, and then you go through each map again. Like, Thunder Rift would be the 1st and 4th map, or something like that.
Yeah, I like that thought.
All right. All right. Let me know when the video goes full screen, and we'll go ahead and take a look now at the highlights from the first Outskirts battle.
Okay. Yeah, so we talked about that briefly. Our plan when we built there was just like, okay, we spent a lot of we basically spent 2 lists on a lot of high DPS, a lot of close range focused assets. So let's preserve some of our long range ones, some of our skirmishy ones, and try to use a bunch of those in a drop. We want to find a way to leverage those.
Yeah, Outskirts wasn't an ideal map to do that on, so we ended up going with kind of a blend of mid-range and brawly stuff.
Yep. Interesting looking at the other team's list.
Yeah, I wasn't involved in building the list for that one, but it was pretty straightforward, like the old Chaos March gem of grab a bunch of medium to long range firepower and park it on a good hill.
Okay. All right. I'm getting ready to. I'm gonna load the next video as soon as it starts up. Feel free to comment. This is highlights from the first Outskirts battle.
Okay. I'll also say that I was red X'd for a good portion of it, so I can't comment too much once the shooting starts. So Architect did praise me for saying, "Oh, your micro was extremely good. Your micro positioning was extremely good," but I wasn't playing, sort of.
You might consider taking a minute to pull up my stream on the other side, like you did for the first drop, if you can, because you'll get to see your own team's movement from up high and how it looked to us. I got your stream running full screen now.
Yep, just started for me.
I'm going to stop the first video here in a second, and we'll switch over to Lico's perspective real quick, because basically all I do at this point is just, it's like, okay, we're going to rush into them, and then I get stuck on the edge of a hill and get killed. So
Yeah, I think your team's movements kind of made or broke this match since we were mainly just sitting with a firing line.
Yeah, as you can see, as I'm seeing on my screen now, like, you peeked out and there was just a line of mechs there. We weren't moving. The ball was in your court.
Yep.
I think if you guys had immediately pressed W there and gotten within our limited pitch down, you could have potentially turned that around. But when I was watching from my perspective, your entire team pretty much faltered within the cover that we could target. The hardest people to shoot were the couple people who actually ran straight up under the hill, so
Yep.
we couldn't shoot down at them properly.
Yeah, and also looking at the list that would have played to the close range that your list was built around, like Atlas Golf. Like the Atlas, for example, like if it's not going to be able to trade at that range, like even if it dies, like or takes a ton of damage, if it's able to soak damage, that already like makes it extremely useful. That means that it can cover your approach because it's going to get shot, or if it doesn't get shot, then it can tear up the firing line.
So do we have Lico's perspective is up on the stream now? Hopefully.
Yep, that's started up
Yes.
for me now.
This is
Well, this
where
would
we
be-
first
yeah.
spotted you, and then you diverted and came at us from the south instead.
The quality is not great, but if you squint, you can see the clan team moving between the buildings and the hills here, and you'll see some of my teammates plinking at them with high-velocity AC-10, light Gauss rifles, stuff like that.
The HVAC is still in the game. Interesting. That's
Yep.
was a rare weapon for a few releases.
Yeah, the high-velocity AC-10 is actually a pretty good weapon at the moment. It's got slightly extra, slight amount of extra range compared to other long-range weapons, and it's got pretty nasty shake on it for trading against lasers.
Yeah,
Also
it
has
actually,
like a lot of DPS, but just have to keep it on target a lot. A little challenging.
Oh, those poor mechs.
Yeah, it works as sort of a soft counter to other 900-meter range weapons because it can deliver more consistent screen shake than PPCs and stuff like that.
I think we got lucky here that during those first two areas where we were exposed, you guys weren't fast enough to unload all of your weapons. You still got a few shots, but I think this could have been over even faster for us.
We mostly had like mid-range weapons, so we actually couldn't hit you a lot of the time. Like there, for example, I whiffed all of my guns on the Atlas.
Also, we were pretty packed on that hill. I know I was actually having a little bit of trouble finding a place where I could shoot at you, forming a firing line.
Yep.
Yeah, I was having a very difficult time getting shots. I
What's
felt
that?
like every time someone peeked out, one of your other teammates would shoot me, and I would get screen shaked at exactly the wrong time.
A little bit of friendly fire there.
But here, this is where you'll notice your team is taking a lot of cover, and you're slowing down, like just stopping and trying to keep from getting shot instead of moving forward.
Right there when Cesar Thanatos peeked out at that corner, I wanted so badly to just run down the mountain, but I knew if I did that, your whole team would collapse on me, and I would provoke you into
Yep.
doing the thing you needed to do to win. So I stayed.
Yeah, you were down there in the Uziel. I actually was having trouble hitting you at the time because you were too far down. I was having to use my arms to aim below my torso weapons.
And nothing like a crit coming up here. Just, oh, man.
Oh yeah. Did that actually damage your team significantly?
Well, I can't recall, but I know it didn't help things. It blinded you guys for half a second, but...
But yeah, you can see right there Rook Zero and Sabrist in the Bushwhacker and Atlas. They peeked out, and instead of pushing into us or anything, they fell back into cover, which doesn't really help because we can just focus on the rest of the team while they're doing that.
Yeah, and then after that, you can just kind of slow down the hill.
So here's
But
the
we took
part where I
losses
was
then.
like, I'm gonna go get some kills, guys, and then immediately after saying that, your whole team started shooting at me, and I had to just hide, and I just died. But while they were looking at me, my teammates also came down and finished it. So.
Once we committed to engaging you there, just going straight on, that terrain was just a nightmare to really do anything with.
Going through, like, you could have gone up through the water, I think, though. But just getting close to the mountain means that, like, our team wouldn't have been able to hit you. And that, in that case, like, the extreme, like, damage that you guys had built around and lots of close range firepower would have probably come into play.
So, on the next list, what were you trying to do there with the second Outskirts match?
My instinct was... Oh, go ahead.
The second Outskirts match, we were mainly thinking about doing a sort of tank column list, grabbing a bunch of vehicles to boost our tonnage and armor, since the price values were quite a bit lower.
Yeah, it ended up not exactly being a tank column. I think this is the first one where I kind of woke up and started participating in the list building a bit more. I was like, well, these prices look like Mauler and Avatar. Kind of want an Angel ECM if we're gonna mess around in the city, or cover the tanks, cover our movement. While the Argus looks like an Angel ECM unit. And then, well, we hardly got any tanks, but got a solid list.
You generally don't want that many tanks anyways. A good tank list is like half tanks and half mechs generally.
Yeah.
It works if you have a place where you know you're going to engage. Like, they cannot ignore you or they cannot cut you. But we didn't really have that guarantee here.
Yeah, you can't... It's hard to go all in on tanks on a lot of maps because you can get kited, and you also risk... getting hard countered if they have a lot of light ballistic weapons, things like that.
Wouldn't be Chaos March without a hold.
Would not.
So we'll pick up from here. Our commander was telling us get back, and then I'm not sure what happened on our end.
Yeah. What was your list like? It seemed like you were sort of swapping tactics with us with longer range stuff.
Yep, we had dual LRM Mauler, we had Narc, and we had a bunch of Gauss and jump jetting long range stuff.
We had Narc? God, okay.
I think.
Go ahead.
Narc.
Oh, I feel very good about that Argus Charlie pick now that I know you had Narc. Angel
I actually
ECM.
see a sort of issue with your positioning right here. That's kind of, I think on Outskirts, do the Outskirts bridge walls block all the shots?
Yeah, they do.
Yep.
Yeah, they're essentially just walls.
Well, I think you can shoot through them, but it's very hard.
Yeah. Oh,
They
they're
got some
not
shots
like
through them.
Kagashimas where they're just a solid plane.
No, because those have like a wire thing that dangles down and blocks your shots.
I'll say that this caught me by surprise, though, because I was expecting, like, when I saw that there were a couple of, like, Gauss snipers, I was like, oh, they might have, like, a skirmish list. So I thought you would not be this far away, like, a raid in a firing line with a huge difference.
I see my Mauler waddling into view there.
This is where Duelist forgets you have Angel. Oh, look at all those mechs. It's not just one.
Yeah, see, I kind of thought we were doomed right here because plotting across open terrain against this sort of list is not a favorable situation. So we were kind of on the back foot. It looks like some of this terrain was messing up your team, though. Like, these buildings were kind of dividing your team in half here, and we pushed a bit harder into one side of your team.
Yep.
Yeah, it seemed like the northern tail end of your team was a bit too far west. They were like in the buildings, and we sort of consumed them on our way around through the cover.
I was actually worried. Like, at first, I called to push into these buildings because I thought, well, okay, like, we're going to go collapse on Joey because he was a little bit out of position in these places. But then I also realized that, like, it didn't really line of sight that much of the team. So it was, I think really here it just became a slugfest. Where it was like, okay, who has the most armor?
Going into those buildings was a good call, though, because it shielded our tanks. And at the end of
Yeah.
the game, it was just me and those tanks alive.
Oh, yeah,
and I was only
it was
alive
really
because I was
helpful
also
for
hiding
me.
in those buildings. And the tanks were all completely fresh. So, like,
Yeah.
the last two or whoever were up, like, they could kite forever, but they'd be kiting against fresh tanks.
Yeah, that was really helpful for me, even if it wasn't for the mechs, since I was in one of those tanks.
And just like the first Thunder Rift match, Rook is getting out of there and finding an alternative place to fight.
He was getting decent shots the whole time, but also he wasn't sharing armor with the rest of the team.
Kidson had a really good position in that mauler. He was able to lay down a lot of firepower and take a lot of armor away from our team without taking a lot of shots in return.
Yep.
But
Just
finally,
across the thread.
I think at this point I was screaming at my teammates, like, you guys are all fresh, you gotta go in. Time to kill the mauler.
And I remember on comms, Rook was like, you know, we're not going to win this, but I might be able to get a shot. And then coming up, I hit a tree, guys. I would have made the kill, but I hit the tree. But we've got two mechs here. Silver's leg slowed him down, so he couldn't get away coming up, and then Rook tries to make some shots. But I think we'll cut off the highlights here in a second because not much else goes on in this match.
Yeah, it's just that we lost Rook for a while, but a regulator eventually found him like 2 or 3 minutes later.
Yeah, it became a bit of a chase.
Yep.
Silvercraft bought him
know.
some time here.
Yep. I wasn't quite sure why our team was shooting his leg, but
Someone
think it
called
was
out
just-
that he had a damaged leg, so why
Yep.
not?
Yeah, target of opportunity.
And as we start to get towards the last two highlights, I'm trying to remember which one of the Oasis matches I was in the catapult, because I think I had a really good perspective on that match. But then on the other one, Lico's perspective is really good on the other map. So map 5 coming up here. I know on this list we were definitely going for medium to long range, trying to keep the distance and having the Fafnir, the Atlas kind of soak up some of the damage. Don't ask me how I ended up in a Catapult Alpha. I just did.
I threw you in that. When we were making this list, it was, I think, mostly Architect and me who were making the choices. So actually the Fafnir Echo was my idea, because Architect really wanted a Fafnir. And I was like, there's nothing that works. It was a 128 slot, which means that you can only buy like 2 of them, which was the HVAC 10 one and the dual Gauss one, which is the Echo. Dual Gauss one has dual lambs, and I was like, oh, I feel like this is going to be a missile meme map, because every time we've played it in organized, also in pubs, it just turns into a missile massacre. So I tried to put in a bunch of assets which had lambs on them, including the catapult.
Yeah,
So
we
I was like, okay,
figured
might as well do it.
we figured this was probably the only place list like this would work, so we went ahead and tried a missile list. And despite you having a lot of lambs and stuff, we did manage to kill like 3 of your assets. So it just shows that it is pretty effective on Oasis.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to do a missile list on Oasis. I was like, we're doing it. If we're gonna break out the arrows, it's gonna be on, or not Oasis. Was it Sandblasted or Oasis? It was Oasis,
This is Oasis,
wasn't it?
yeah.
God, I have PTSD from Sandblasted. Anyway, immediately I saw how many lambs the other team had, laser AMS, and well, I knew I'd made a mistake.
Yeah, it was a pretty direct counter. Lambs and AECM. So our narcs didn't work either.
I'll still say that I thought we were going to lose that match, because like the initial volleys were extremely punishing, and it was definitely a little bit confused in comms as to what we were doing.
Yeah,
so.
I thought we had a good chance too, because your initial positioning was pretty bad. Like, you were basically out on your own. with only the Fafnir nearby, and the rest of your team was God knows where. But you managed to gather yourselves up and shoot back at us in force, and we started to crumble.
Yeah. When
I
the video
think-
starts rolling, I can comment a bit more about our micro positioning.
Yeah.
But
Well-
I'm curious to hear your perspective on more of that drop.
Well, I think ultimately the reason we lost is because we started kind of milling around instead of doing anything intentional to maintain advantage over the situation.
All right, video will be rolling here in a little bit. I got really lucky here. You'll see something that I did that had I not done that, I think you guys would have really gotten the jump on us. Video should be rolling hopefully now.
Yep.
All right.
I didn't notice that your list had an Argus Prime, but that's extremely classy.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
was
we see
in
now.
that at the front for most of it. You were in the Avatar, right?
Yes.
I know I put a lot of fire into you during that match.
Oh yeah. You caught somebody pop-tarting in a catapult? Yeah, so as soon as Duelist called out that he had a contact, I said, okay, let's like try and go run at them. Because we want to be like at least mid-ranged. We want to be able to like trade with them.
Duelist might or might not have gotten a bit confused about the running in. You'll see that in a little bit.
Well, I did call to push at them. So at first though, like I was suggesting, like I went a little bit further away. I didn't want to run straight at them because I didn't think the terrain was like conducive to that. I just wanted to have like a hill that like I could potentially duck behind if you had missiles, and you did have missiles. But when I told people to break in like under the hill, I didn't specify what side of the hill, so I was like totally isolated from the rest of the team while they were all at the base. I basically lost most of my armor because I think like your whole team was staring at me.
I am
So
so
I was just
proud
trying to
I
be
landed
ACM
those
beacon.
hits on Lego there coming up.
Yeah. I really love this asset. Probably one of my favorites actually. Like at this buy tier in pubs.
Which, yours or the one Duelist is in?
Duelists. Well, both actually. Both are fantastic. Avatar Golf is great. Yeah, I called for push here, and I thought people were moving. And Duelist went with me.
Looks like your team got caught on the little facility behind the base.
Yeah, the Mech factory.
It was partially getting caught and partially that they thought they were getting good trades. And I think they actually were getting good trades because a lot of you were shooting at me.
We
I'm
were.
not sure.
This is where I still thought we were winning. And
I also thought you were winning.
if we continued to move up and to the north a little bit, where we could all directly get our guns on you a bit more, I think we might have won. But as you can see, our formation is whack right now. Like, it's basically me, Jamek, and our Narc Thanatos at the front, with everyone else hiding on the dune behind us. And we really, like, that the Atlas was in the back. That is not right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was
like
doing as much work as I could in the Argus up front, but I couldn't soak that much damage all by myself.
Speaking of
Like,
soaking
looking at
damage,
this through Duelist perspective is like, this is all wrong. There's something with an arrow pod on the front line. There's, an Atlas in the very back. Something went wrong. Positioning is key in these single life death matches.
I'm so proud that I was able to share armor for my team.
Yeah, you did very good. Frontlining in a heavy mech, taking a lot of punishment, dealing out a lot of damage.
Now coming
I
up,
still...
go ahead.
I don't know, just at this point though, like I still thought that because like you were going down, I think I had either already died or was about to die. That like I still had no idea like how our team would do, because I thought that like, oh god, if we're staying at standoff distance, we're just gonna get worn down forever. Because I didn't really think that, like I thought that our team had lost too much armor, but I think also like you guys never like made distance. Like if you just kind of walked backwards, probably just like kept on throwing things at us, we probably would have exploded.
Those 4 lambs really saved us from a lot of damage.
Yeah, this is where things really started turning in your favor here, where we're still kind of milling around nearby without accomplishing much, and we're not intentionally repositioning anywhere. Your team is starting to get pickoffs.
I love how Silver Shark has Jumpy next to his name when that mech does not have jump jets. Maybe it's a suggestion. A Raven with jump jets in the future. Make it happen.
Usually does change his name to indicate what kind of asset he's doing, but sometimes he forgets. Occasionally seen him do Jumpy or Little when he's in an Atlas.
Coming up here, Chezzer. I thought this was like 30 seconds of badassery in that Atlas.
Yeah, did like Chezzer not get called at any point? Because I was kind of worried. I was like, oh no, like just our Atlas is like sitting out, not doing anything, not sharing armor. But I think he was just like trading well the whole time.
And those lambs working together right there. That's beautiful. Poor Bear.
Shout out to Bear. He actually did a decent job getting some tags throughout that match since the narcs weren't working.
He did pretty good today. Just a Raven staring down an Atlas as oh my goodness, how can you see anything through this crit coming up?
No, I didn't realize how much the lambs are neutralizing the regulator.
I've been in Bob's position. I can't fight back, so you try to do anything. Oh, excellent battle there. And then that brings us up to our last highlights here. We'll switch over to Lico's stream for that one because he's got good stuff. So what were the lists designed to do here on this last fight on map 6? Should be coming up on the video here shortly.
So from our side, the idea was that like, okay, if we did like a list that was sort of mid-range skirmishy, they didn't do a missile list properly, or at least didn't win with the missile list, so they probably won't do that again. We can probably expect there to be some kind of like heavy direct fire. So we thought, okay, like why don't we just do something a little bit different? Let's go all in on speed. Make our biggest spies be Marauders. Have a regulator or something, or not a regulator. What was it? Well, we did have like an Argus, so we just made sure that everything we had was like 86 kph plus. And the idea was that like, okay, if they're like a super long range list again, where they're just like taking up a position somewhere, we run at them. If they're a short range list and they're trying to brawl us, we can kite. And I still don't quite think like the hybrid idea for the other list, but just kind of ended up like being a really close quarters brawl when it actually got down to it. That was kind of strange.
Yeah. My list for this last one wasn't super well thought out. I just had some time to kill during the previous round's minigame, and I threw together a list based on what was left and what I would kind of take at each price point. I was somewhat expecting people to adjust it based on their preferences, but everyone just picked something and waited. And
at that point, I was starting to get tired, so I didn't really want to fiddle with the list.
Yeah, I think everyone was kind of low energy at that point, so I think the general apathy may have had something to do with the outcome of that game.
We're at about 3 hours and 30 minutes here, and even with some of the downtime, a lot of battles through there. You know.
Yeah, a lot
Plus
of
it was
drops
getting near dinner time. That's the early start. You start getting near dinner there, but so radar here, visual. What part you trying to head your mechs to? What are you thinking as you're walking through?
Well, this time we basically just said, screw it, we'll go straight down the middle. My first impulse was to do the exact same thing as the previous drop because that would be the last thing anyone would expect, right? But then I just said, nah, we're kind of more straightforward than we were last time, so let's just go straight forward.
I had us have a Raven, and he was sitting around that hill where you're looking at. Not sure if you made contact with him, but the idea was that, like,
we saw him.
Yeah, the idea was that like I would have him sit there. We were all like in our fairly quick assets, like behind the hill, kind of to the left, waiting to see like, okay, where are they going to be, and then we'll react, run away or run at, depending on the list type. A little bit spooky though when Architect was like taking a lot of fire and then really moving. You were all behind that arch, trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah, at this point, we detected you to our left by the pyramid, and we were preparing for a push, just getting arranged.
Yeah. It was awkward though because we didn't quite know what your list had. Like at first we saw like, oh, they have regulators, so like, oh, we can engage them at close range, but also like, oh my god, they have atlases. Like, should we run? But by the time like we were in this sort of situation, like it was like, oh, we're already taking a lot of fire. We should probably do stuff. So there, I was just like, okay, I'm going to run across their field of vision and make them all look at me. I have ACM, so hopefully the rest of my team won't be visible.
That's a chimera,
Yeah,
not an Atlas duelist.
If the audio was on right now, you would have heard me call Angel ECM Argus like twice.
Yeah.
The moment I saw you, I knew what was going on. I know this play so well. I've been on the playing side of it many times.
It's funny though because we didn't have a list that would like fully take advantage of this. I was really worried about what happened.
There goes Duelist.
Oof.
Yeah, see, at this point, your whole team is basically kind of slipping out of my line of sight, and I'm like, our assault mech just dropped. Do we push up on top of the hill? Well, the alternative is dying, so may as well die and shoot back.
Ooh.
Yeah, I soaked as much damage as I could in the old Daddy Atlas, but I didn't have enough left for a push at the front.
Yeah, we needed to play a bit more aggressively around the Atlas. We lost the Atlas, and we didn't purchase anything in its death, and that's ultimately why we lost.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a kill shot on you there, Liko. PPC right to the cockpit. Well, I mean, it blew you up. What you don't see that very often in Chaos March, at least, cockpitting. I saw Marius take out a Fafnir once, and he was a BA, so the rules back then let him take the Fafnir, and it turned the tide of battle.
Wow.
That sounds hilarious, actually.
But you're
cockpitting stuff is pretty hard to do on purpose.
Your riflemen, for being as outnumbered in the situation, I felt did a really good job maximizing what they had left.
Yeah, actually, it was pretty scary. Like, fighting him was not fun for me. He could tank forever. Rifleman Prime, I think, was it? Yeah.
Yes, I chose the Prime because of its armor, and I actually planned on piloting it, but I ended up piloting something else because of how I shuffled the other players around.
It was a good pick, though. I think it's just like the engage over the hill went badly, but...
Yeah, we probably should have gone around to the side, or, I don't know, done something other than push all the way up there and die.
Yeah, cresting over a hill is always a dangerous thing to do in these games.
Yeah.
You usually want to like go around the side or something.
I got caught on the corpse.
Now, as that wraps up, we did that crazy thing at the beginning with the 3v3 arena test, which let's call it a pre-alpha, but it was it makes a man think. Yes. So Dire Wolf, it is my understanding that you've been a bit busy hosting some events of your own. Can you give us a little bit of a spiel on what you're doing and how people can join those?
Sure. So I host, as of now, 4 events per month, something every weekend. The idea is 2 of those are train control matches, where it's basically just a regular pub game of Living Legends, but I make everyone be a voice. And usually there's just like, if everybody's talking to each other, if everybody has a game plan, the quality usually ends up being much better. I think actually almost every time we've done a terrain control game, it's almost always a tie, or like within like 100 tickets. I think there's been 1 or 2 games where it's been over 100 ticket gap. It's just the games tend to go really well. And like also it means that like even if you're not like extremely good at like one-on-one type of combat, like moment-to-moment gameplay sort of thing, if you have like good drop calls or if you know how to position yourself on the map to like deny enemy resources, you can still be extremely influential. So it's just like a different form of competitive gameplay, and I think it organized, I guess, maybe not really super competitive. I do try to make it like a welcoming experience where if they're new players, they can show up and they can ask questions, that sort of deal. So that's half of what I do, and the other half is events a little bit like this. We don't have a drop calc. You don't have limited assets unless it's like you can't choose X, Y, Z asset arbitrarily. But it's mostly based on C-bills, like this. So it's just people get assigned a C-bill slot. It's like, okay, you have every player is given like random assignments. Say one person has like 45k, 159, and they can't swap between them. So they just choose an asset that's like comfortable for them at that price point. Like overall, they'll be like an experienced player can be like build a long range list or build a short range list. So it's like build your favorite short range asset
Yeah,
for whatever prices you got assigned. And then we do lots of drops that way. It's a little bit less freedom, but this setup time is a little bit shorter. I am also willing to do more flexible build slots, but for the most part, people seem to enjoy the extra restrictions. It forces them out of their comfort zone. So yeah, do one of those every weekend. Usually on Saturdays or Sundays. I try to do 2 events on Saturdays, 2 on Sundays, 1 TC and 1 single life on a Saturday and Sunday, just so if you have like
Somebody just exploded.
weekend obligations or something, you can, like everyone can hopefully go to at least one of each type of event.
I hear you.
Could you please use
Now,
talk? We're getting
I
some
seem to recall that
noise
Living
off of your
Legends
mic.
is
Yeah, I
still
feel it.
receiving some releases and some awesome stuff. The
No?
most recent release was this
No?
past Springlico, is that correct?
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can
Yes,
hear
the exact date escapes me.
Okay.
But we've got another update coming up soon, TM,
Mhm.
which will feature some brand new 100-ton assault tanks, one for each tech base. It's very exciting. You may be seeing those in some official promo materials soon if you follow our official promo outlets. And say about that at the moment. But thank you, Duelist, for hosting this lovely event and the breakdown afterwards. I've got to run now, so take care, everyone.
Thank you, Luca.
Thanks for
Good stuff.
tuning in.
For coming, and thanks for hosting Duelist.
Yep.
User disconnected
All right,
from
well,
your
that's
channel.
gonna wrap it up. I've been talking here with Liko, Direwolf, and Jamek. As for my end, never say never for future Duelist stuff. I mean, it's been a while since Ishiyama. It's been a while since a 3v3. It's been a while since stuff. So Direwolf, you've got some ideas. I got some ideas. I think we'll have to get in touch and think about some stuff for later in the year.
Berlioz, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we will.
You had to take your gun right off the bat.
All right.
Yeah, we have a few active plans, so we might be able to get together and do something like that.
I can tell you right now, I've been poking some of the other units to see if I can get them to do some sort of informal practice, 3v3s and things like that. So if there are more formal events, I'll certainly be interested and also help organize those. But perhaps you know where to find me, and I know where to find you.
It seems like every game these days is all about this 4-player co-op. I'm just saying that. I don't know. We'll see. But right now, on my end, nothing officially planned. Today was the 6th anniversary of the Chaos March thing, and thanks to a lot of awesome people like Direwolf and Rick Hunter and the faction leaders and everybody else. We had a pretty smooth running event. I had fun. And I'm glad we were able to play today, so be sure to check out all the places. This game is free. MechLivingLegends.net, not free to play, but actually free to keep and play. It's an awesome community. Be sure to drop by. There you'll also find links to their official social media channels. The Discord is very active. If you're looking for anything on my end, you'll find the Ace Mech
Autism is real in this
stuff, the Mechmaster stuff, mechmaster.com for anything you're looking for me. And today was a success, so down the road we'll see if we're doing anything. So as we close this out, we've got 1 minute left in the recording. What is your favorite mech and map in Living Legends right now? Both of you, your favorite mech and map.
Exactly that.
Oh, that's hard. Probably Ivory Tower and Shadowcat Prime for me.
Get like 26.
Better. For me, I usually fall back on the old standby of Train Control Mirage, and I like the Uziel Charlie, I think it is, a lot.
And for me, the old standby of the Atlas Delta, and it never gets played often enough because Oasis is awesome, but I have a feeling for TC Sandblasted myself. All All right. Well, as we wrap this up, I'd like to thank our guests, and I will be providing. We'll be cutting the videos down so that you can watch the recordings individually. I'll probably get some commentary in there, and we'll have some stuff. So until when and if I got some stuff going, be sure to check out Direwolf and the other events, and long live Living Legends.